Hi everybody, welcome back to the Community Touch podcast. I have another special guest as always. So this is Auntie Jackie, and if you just introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, so I'm Jackie Stewart. I like the auntie.
You like it now, I never used to like it before.
Never used to like that terminology, but I accept it. I accept my age and I accept it. So I'm Jackie Stewart and I am the co-founder and director of Financial Wealth Community. Financial Wealth Community is where I work with clients and basically to help them manage their money and to build wealth. And I do that via my accountancy, which I'm kind of transitioning from right now into more coaching, and also my membership group.
Yeah, so I feel like what we do is very similar, but you just work with typically an older audience, right?
Yeah, and businesses. I'm moving to more just businesses because I think these young people are doing such a fantastic job, right? I'm kind of transitioning. I'm passing the baton on and I'm moving to more business owners. But yeah.
And how do you find, because I know you used to work in a corporate environment, can you just talk about that and what made you actually want to get into being self-employed?
Good question. So yeah, I spent at least I say about 30 years working in the City of London corporately as an accountant, working for many different businesses. The main thing what happened was when I was having my second child, actually, when I was having Amari, what happened was a friend of mine wanted to start her own business, and she wanted me to help her with the admin side. So she was teaching people how to be more confident so they could apply for jobs. Cut a long story short, I absolutely loved what she did. Even though I was mainly doing the admin and the accounts, I was able to do some as well. So that made me actually want to do a teaching qualification.
Okay.
So that's how that started, but I wanted to teach finance.
Yeah.
So did my teaching qualification. And then I think I just had enough of the city life. I felt like my community needed me more because I'd go and work in the city and I'd work with people who were from, I don't know, Oxford or just different cultural backgrounds, different lifestyle. Yes, we do. Different lifestyle. And then I'd come back home to Southeast London and I could see what was happening in my community with young men and the violence and the gangs and I wanted to be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
And so I felt like my time in the city was done because I didn't feel like I was contributing to my community by working. I was contributing to somebody else's pocket.
Did you feel unfulfilled in a city? Because that's how I feel.
100%.
Yeah.
Because although I was working, I had a good job and obviously it contributed to my life and my lifestyle. I worked part-time so I could raise my boys, pick them up from school, which was important to me. But ultimately, that real self-fulfillment of that I'm contributing to my community wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because the people I worked with had no idea what my community was going through.
Yeah, especially I feel like when you go into corporate environments, I don't feel like I'm my authentic self. I feel like they know a version of me, but they don't 100%. Actually know me. Yeah. But obviously when I'm in my community, everybody knows me for me.
Yeah.
And I just I don't like that two-faced thing. I don't like the code switching. I don't like any of that. So I feel like that's also another reason that I'm obviously trying to work as hard as I can work to make sure that I become self-employed.
Yeah, the code switching is a big thing and funny, because it has a term now. It didn't have a term when I first started working. I just felt, I used to call it my professional image, but then I'm a professional person wherever I am. So that was even wrong for me to say it's a professional image.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. I felt, and from an honest perspective, that I had the weight of the black woman on my shoulders when I represented corporately.
Yeah.
And especially because I had locks then as well.
Oh, so you was like proper outside of the typical...
Outside of the typical...
What do you even call it? The typical
look.
Frame.
Yeah. Let's not go there. But yeah, I had locks. But I mean, I had a really good boss.
Yeah.
The longest... Actually, all my bosses have been pretty okay. But I felt that I had to not become angry. I had to be assertive and not aggressive and not play into the stereotype because I was representing. And that became tiresome after a while.
Yeah, and I feel like you said this was like 30 years ago, right? And
no, not 30 years ago.
Oh, no, you was in the corporate for 30 years.
No, yeah. I'm not that old.
Sorry.
No, but I did leave. In all honesty, I left corporate probably about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I've left,
And it's still the same now because I think I already told you when I was going through that situation at work. So I started at my workplace with 3 other apprentices. They all happened to be white apprentices and I happened to be the only black one. And it just so happened to be that all of them had got promoted before I got promoted. And you know, you don't always want to play the race card because Do you know what? I genuinely don't believe that everything is always about race.
No, it's not always about race, but
it's
there is a lot of
performance as well.
institutional racism.
But there is, and when you're looking at the facts of the situation now, and the fact is, I'm working at the same level that these people are at. So if it's not race, what is it then?
Yeah. And we have to ask for it as well, right?
Yeah.
We have to always ask for it. And that was my downfall. I remember actually a manager saying that to me before. He literally said to me, yeah, but you didn't ask.
That's exactly what they said to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I think, I don't know if I've spoken about it, but I think it was an eye-opening experience for me because, number one, I think in the UK, we're just used to progressing at every single level, you know, primary school, secondary school. There's no, in certain countries, you have to pass the exam for that year to progress. But over here, you don't have to do that unless you're going from, you know, like GCSEs to A-levels and then all of that. But other than that, everything is just straight progression. So I feel like I carried that into the workplace. And I think now that I've had that conversation, I think it is always important to speak up and just say, look, if I want to get promoted, what do I have to do to make sure that I'm going to get promoted? However, I also think that they should be providing you with the opportunity as well. Because I haven't asked my other colleagues this, but perhaps there were conversations going on in their catch-ups where they're saying, okay, we want to promote you, like this is what you need to do, but that was not the case for me. So moral of the story, if you are a person of colour, even if you're not a person of colour, always just put what you want out there. And the thing is, once you have the criteria that they want for you to get promoted and you can prove that you've hit everything, there's no reason for them to not promote you.
It is. It's about being assertive in that situation,
Yeah.
definitely. I would say the same thing. Otherwise, you could definitely get looked over.
Yeah. Back into self-employment. So you had that, obviously you working for your friend that triggered your interest into becoming self-employed, and then what was the journey after that?
Yeah, so literally, and so it is a very scary journey when you're going from regular income to now you may not be getting any income. You don't know if people are even going to want to buy what you're trying to sell, right? So it's really, really tricky. So how I navigated it and how I encourage other people to navigate it is you kind of do the two at the same time. So because I worked part-time, I reduced my hours slightly. So that meant I could focus on the business and start to build the business up. And that's literally what I did. So if this is my employment job and this was the company that I decided I now was going to run, what I did was I started to do this, but very slowly. Yeah, so I remember going down to 5 hours a week, and I was lucky to do that.
That's crazy. They would never do that now.
Well, and I had been there for 9 years, so he didn't really want me to go, but anything I could offer, he was happy, right? Okay. So I was able to do that, and so that also talks about how much your employer values you. So I tried my best to not work anywhere where I wasn't valued, and I did have an incident where I worked and they didn't value me, and I left within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't play.
Yeah, but I rate that though, because there's no point in working for someone that doesn't value you.
And the stress that it can bring, and it's like, okay, see how you're going to cope now that I'm not
like, you know,
so I value myself first, and that's really important, that you place a value on yourself, a high value on yourself. Otherwise, because I've seen people stay in jobs for 10, 20 years because they think that, oh, I might not get another job, or I'm going to be uncomfortable. What if I move and it's worse? And that's not me. I valued myself and the skills I bought so that I felt I could leave. And so making the transition probably wasn't as difficult as it would be for others, because I'd worked at lots of different places.
Yeah, so you had a lot of experience.
Lots of experience. So for me, it was literally making sure I had a certain amount that I needed to come in to pay the minimum of my bills. So I had to cover the minimum.
And that's where the budget comes into play.
That's where the budget comes in. So I knew what my baseline lowest figure was.
Yeah.
And then what I wanted to do was make sure that the business got to a place, or I got enough clients, so that would cover again my minimum.
Yeah.
Because once it covers the minimum, you can only build from there.
100%, I agree with that.
And so that's the way I did it, yeah.
Yeah, because I know some people, you know, everyone's got a different risk appetite. Some people will just be like, right, I'm going to quit my job for a certain amount of months to focus on my business. If it blows, it blows. If it doesn't blow, I'll go back to getting a job. But, you know, in my position, I can't do that anyway, because I have bills to pay. I've got a mortgage, you know. It's just not going to happen for me. So I 100% need to take that approach of working and also working on my business at the same time. Yeah. And I feel like I've created a routine that allows me to do that. So I have a lot of times during the week to focus on my business. However, I do want to I'm very, very ready to leave my job. I've been there for a while now. I've been there for 6 years in the same role. And I just feel like, you know, when you just feel it in your bones,
It's
you're
time.
just ready to move on.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if I wanted to, you know, like I've saved my emergency savings fund to cover me.
So that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Because that's the key. I didn't do that because I wasn't as heavily invested into personal money management then. But I think if someone is thinking of that, you want to at least make sure you've got that 3 to 6 months worth of savings.
It's so important.
Because then you can take that leap and you know you've got 3 to 6 months to make it work. And it depends on the industry you're in. So like my industry, it would be easy for me to get into another job. So if it didn't work out, I know I could pick up another job. So some industries may not be like that. They may be more competitive. So it really does depend. But if you have that savings,
that's like your safety net.
That's your safety net. And you know, I've got to make this work because the money's going to run out in 6 months.
So it was a thing where my safety net is going to be, by the end of the year, it'll be for 3 months worth.
Right.
Or 3 to 4 months worth of expenses. And I was thinking, do I just take the risk and just do that, like bang out all of the community touch stuff for 3 to 4 months and see where that takes me? Or do I get a part-time job and do community touch at the same time and maybe just take out £1,000 from my savings each month? That will last me till the end of 2026. So it's still something that I'm thinking about now. But, you know, it's important to make sure that you have these options available to you.
Yeah.
There's no point in just quitting a job and you know, you don't have any income. Unless you happen to be living at home, your parents are happy for you to not pay anything, then obviously you've got the means to take the risk. I feel like that's the best time to take the risk.
If you're going to do it while you're still living at home and you don't have any bills to pay, if that's the case. But absolutely, and I encourage people to do that, like my clients, I'll say, or get a part-time job, right? Because even if it's something you don't really want to do, it's about the income coming in while you're building.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, I feel like that's probably the most wise approach. But I think right now, I just want to leave. Like, I just want to get a new job and just be at a different company. I don't necessarily want to be in a corporate environment anymore. So ideally, I'd like to be in a more, you know, I'd still do the same analyst job, but in maybe a creative company or just something different that's not in the banking industry. I just think I'm over that now.
Yeah, I think that happens. And I think with accountancy, that's the beauty of an industry like that. Because an accountant is accountant. It doesn't matter which industry you work in.
You can work.
And I've worked in so many, and some like you, where I'm like, after a year, this isn't for me. It's so boring. And others were like entertainment. I've worked at a records company. You know, they've all been uptown, but just more of a, you know, lively environment. So it really does depend. But you're absolutely right. Once you get to that point where I've had it, this is it, I don't want to do anymore, it's hard to get rid of that feeling.
Yeah, it is. You can't shake it. And you just have to listen to it and follow. Just follow your heart.
You do.
And then in terms of retirement and financial planning, obviously that's something that you do for yourself and that's something that you help your clients with as well. What would you say, let's say someone like me, I'm 25 years old, what advice would you give to someone in terms of planning ahead and planning for their future?
So the very first thing I say, and I've got a friend who's an insurance advisor and she'd be very happy with me, is make sure you've got life insurance.
100%.
It's so cheap when you're this age, right? So just that's the first thing. And if you are working corporately, or if you're working actually not even corporately, and your employer provides a pension service, contribute to the pension service.
100%.
I did that very late because I didn't have that advice. So I worked many years corporately, and my thing was, what might people will laugh when I say this, but it's a true story. So obviously I brought up in a Christian environment, and I used to go to a traditional Pentecostal church when I was younger, and all you heard every day that Jesus was coming soon. So when I was like in my late teens, I was like, well, if he's coming soon,
I'm not even going to live to see the money.
Right? So I might as well just enjoy myself now. What's saving? Why? He's going to come soon. So, you know, honestly, that is how my brain was warped. And so when I was offered to go into the pension scheme, and I want to say it was about £30 a month out of my wages, I was like, £30 a month? No way!
You're thinking, I can buy this, I can buy that with £30
and Jesus is coming soon, so I'm not going to be reaching retirement age. Well, you can see from the greys, I'm not too far from that, right? But honestly, that was what I was thinking back then. And then obviously as I got older and I started thinking, actually, if I put £30 in, they're going to put £60 in, or depending on the scheme. Hey, it's a no-brainer.
It's free money.
It's a no-brainer. So
Yeah.
obviously I switched, but and you know, when my first son started working, and he said, "Mum, they said I should join a pension scheme." I said, "Yes,
yes." There's no choice about it. Yeah,
join it. So that's the first thing I'd say, right? Is the pension, and then your insurance. Make sure you've got your life insurance. And then you guys had this LISA thing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Lifetime
ISA. So I'd say start putting some money into an ISA, or the lifetime ISA where the government's offering to give you free money again, right?
Anything with free money, as long as obviously with the lifetime ISA there are certain criteria. So the house has to be up to £450,000.
Okay.
It has to be a residential property, so you can't use it for a buy-to-let mortgage, and I believe you have to have the lifetime ISA for at least 12 months before you can actually claim the government bonus and stuff.
Yeah.
But guys, for every £4,000 that you put in, they put in an extra £1,000. So it's a no-brainer. If you want to move out, that's what the lifetime ISA is for. It's either for planning for retirement,
that's right,
or for moving out, or if you're critically ill and you need access to the money, then you can withdraw the money penalty free. But obviously, if you're going to withdraw the money for anything else, then you have to pay a 25% fee.
Yeah.
So just make sure that any money that you put in there is not money that you need.
Exactly. And all those little schemes make sense, especially when you're young, because as life happens and you start to have to pay out for lots of other things, then you're not having to choose. You've already done it, and you've already got into a really good habit, right? Because it's about good habits and bad habits. So already you're like, oh, that 20% isn't mine because it's for my future, or you know, whatever you want to call it. So it makes sense to start getting into what I call good habit of what I also call paying yourself first. And what I mean with that is you get your wages, and the first thing that comes out is your savings. Because if you leave it till last, again, I used to do that, true story, I wouldn't save, because the money's going on everything else, right? And by the time I remember that I didn't put anything in my savings, there's nothing left, right?
Really? So I have an interesting take on this.
Okay.
Because I see a lot of people saying pay yourself first, but then I feel like, but you have to pay your bills first.
But what it does is it triggers something in your brain. So if you've done your budget, you know what you can save. It might only be £10, right? So, but if you get into the idea that you matter, because what happens is, and especially for a lot of women, is you don't feel worthy to receive. I've dealt with a lot of women. I've dealt with that myself.
Really?
Right? Yeah. So when we talk about, and I'm not talking woo-woo stuff here, but attracting abundance, attracting wealth, when we talk about that, if you're not willing or ready to receive it, you don't even know that the opportunity has presented itself.
Because you're living a scarcity mindset.
Exactly that. Whereas if you get into the mindset of paying yourself first, and like I said, you do your budget, so you know how much you've got to pay for your rent, your mortgage, or whatever else, and you know that then I can pay £20, £30, £100, £200. Everybody's different. But even if it's £5 a month is all you can save, right? Make sure that money comes out first. You still got the money to pay everything else. You still got the money to pay all your bills, but it's what it does to your mindset and what it does to your self-worth. Because it means I'm working, I'm worthy, I've received this money, and now I'm going to put it away for me first.
I like that.
It's a mindset shift.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically I do pay myself first because I've got my pension in my workplace as well. And I've also got a stocks and shares ISA through my workplace.
Right.
So my workplace
So you're already doing it.
Yeah, I guess without even thinking. But yeah, my workplace pension is amazing. So I'm putting in the minimum amount. The only reason I'm not maxing it out is because I wanted to get a house and I wanted to make sure that I had access to that money. So I put in 1%, but they put in 8%.
Wow.
So it's like
that alone, when you're starting to feel, I need to get out of this place, and I hear you while you're building, but that could be an incentive as to, I can still do this because I'm getting my 8%. I'm getting my 8%.
Oh no, but I just feel like the company.
I hear you, but sometimes you have to find a positive out of a negative situation.
Yes,
that's what I'm trying to say, to help you get up in the morning
and get to work. Yeah, because before I was in a complete different mindset and I hated it, but I started to look at the positives and now I'm just like, this is helping me achieve what I want to.
There you go.
And then with my stocks and shares ISA through my workplace, they partner with Fidelity, and so they take I think it's 4% of my salary. Okay. And then they top it up. Literally, they double it. Wow. So I'm putting in £165 and they're putting in £150 every month.
See?
So again, it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
But then when it comes to my budget, and this is how I budget with all my clients as well. I say, okay, let's figure out how much your expenses are, because you have to pay those.
Yeah.
And then once
your fixed costs, I call them, but the ones that you have to pay. Yeah.
Yeah. So then once you've done that, now we can look at the rest of the money. Now we can figure out how much you can save and how much you can spend.
Yeah.
So I take a slightly different approach, but then I guess because I am technically paying myself first through my pension, through my ISA, and I'm still saving as well.
So no, to get to your savings figure, you still, so that's right. I agree with you. I do that. I say, right, let's look at what you have to pay out first.
Yeah.
And then I say, right, now what can you put away? What's left? And then what would you like to do?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the order that I do, because money's not about restrictions. It shouldn't be about restrictions.
It should be about freedom.
Right. So we start with what you have to do, then what you want to do. But then when I create the budget in terms of when you get paid, the first thing that comes out is you, not your mortgage or your rent, right? Just to make sure. And that's just a mindset thing, because the money should still be there. You're not going to spend your mortgage money, but you will spend your savings money.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
I like that, to be honest.
And that's what I used to do. That's what I used to do. That's why I'm living testimony. I would not have the savings money because I've paid all this cost. And sometimes it's not even because you're spending the money like, you know, you're just spending it on stuff. It's all your bills might equal your income. I mean, for a lot of people, that's the situation.
Yeah, because they live in paycheck to
so
paycheck.
Even if I've got the £10 left, that £10 might have to go because my electricity bill that month was higher than I expected. But if I'd saved it first, then I would have to find a way to pay the electricity bill, or have a conversation with them. Can I pay extra next month? So it just teaches you a different mindset.
And mindset, I feel like we've spoken about this before as well. The first step towards successful money management is having the right mindset.
And so many people have money trauma.
Yeah, they do.
And they don't
Especially
even realise it.
Oh
my gosh, yeah, definitely in our community. And they don't realise it. And like you said, that. And the funny thing with scarcity mindset is it can go different ways. Just because someone has a scarcity mindset doesn't mean they behave the same way, because they don't.
Because you have an extreme spender and then an extreme saver.
Absolutely. Yeah. So people hoard it. Okay, because they're scared to spend it on themselves because they think it might not come back again, right? So they just have it sitting there, or people just spend it anyway. So it affects people differently. So it's very complex, this thing.
It is. It's actually psychological.
It is, and if you're not aware of it within yourself, so if people haven't worked with you and found that out, or worked with me or a coach or whatever, some people don't realise that until I do certain exercises with them, and then they're like, I am, aren't I? I'm a big spender, or whatever. Oh yeah, I do have a scarcity mindset. So it's important to do the work, because then you can fix it.
Yeah, and then when I do my budgets with my clients, I think what they find the most interesting is that I account for absolutely everything in my budget. Yeah. So in my budget, you're going to see money for my nails, my hair, every single month, by the way. Nails, hair, holidays. Like all the normal.
Do you know what that's called? There's actually a name for that.
What's it called?
It's called ZBB, zero-based budgeting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard of it? ZBB for short, but zero-based budgeting, and that is where you account for every single penny.
Yeah. I just find it makes the most sense. Like, I've been doing that for years now, and thank God I've always been in a position where I've always had money. Like, I've even just, with my workplace, you've got private healthcare, so I've had Bupa appointments, but the package that I've got is 25% copay or 20% copay.
Right. So
I have to pay up to £100 a year for my treatments or appointments, and then everything else is covered by them. Yeah. So I'm even in a situation now where I didn't even realise that was the setup for my appointments, but I've got the bill for my appointments, it's now £100, but because I've had money saved and I've got so many different savings pots as well,
not a problem.
It's not a problem at all. And I think that just gives you so much peace of mind, and this is what I want to really encourage people to do, because some people think that budgeting is going to make them restricted, but it actually frees your finances and it frees your mind as well.
100%. And what I say about budgeting is you telling your money where to go. The money that you've worked for, you get to decide where it goes. And if you decide that 70% of it needs to go on clothes, it's your choice, right?
You can afford that.
You live with the consequences of your choices. But ultimately, excuse me, it's you being able to be in control and saying, right, I want some to go there, some to go there, some to go there, and some to go there. It's not restrictive.
Yeah.
It's empowering.
So back to the question. So we were talking about how to build generational wealth, like from my age. So you said the pension, you said lifetime ISA, life insurance. Life insurance, guys, I'm going to do a whole separate video on that because it's so vital and barely anybody in our community has it.
And I can't believe how many people my age don't have it.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't
It's
it?
ridiculous.
I'm still trying to persuade my dad to get it.
I mean, I used to say to people, from you have one child, right?
Yeah.
That used to be my default first until I spoke to somebody. But I used to be like, if you have a child or a mortgage or a home, you need to have life insurance. Because obviously, if something happens to you, the quickest way to create generational wealth is with life insurance.
It is.
How long would it take someone to save up, you know?
£1 million.
Right, £1 million. How long would it take you to save that up, right? If you're not earning a lot and if you are living paycheck to paycheck. Whereas life insurance is there. Then I spoke to a friend who I said she does talks within our membership group. And she told me, no, as soon as her children turn 18, she takes out life insurance policies for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And I was like, that makes sense. So I've got a son coming up to being 18 and I'll be taking out a life insurance policy for him because she said it will start from as little as £9.
Exactly.
Right? And not
what
just
is £9? £9 is Costa.
Exactly. And not just because something could happen to him and at least I'll have his funeral costs, although that's a biggie. Yeah. Let's talk about crowdfunding within our community because when someone passes.
It can put people in debt.
One of my pet hates.
Yeah. I hate it as well.
But also it's for him to start off that way and now he's already, before he's even had a child, building generational wealth.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a no-brainer. So hopefully, if you're going to take one thing away from this podcast today, life insurance is one of the main takeaways. Is there any other advice that you would give or any other things that you think they should, you know, even if you're not giving the advice, but maybe you tell them to go to someone who's a financial planner?
Definitely. Go to a financial planner because there's things like trusts, which I'm not equipped to talk about, so I'm not, but just giving you the terminology of the things you can ask somebody about. So, for example, your parents may be retired and they may have a house or a property and to reduce inheritance tax for them, they could gift you as the child with certain things. And if they survive, I think it's 7 years, then it won't form part of their estate, which means they won't pay 40% tax on that thing. So there's things that you can find out. Obviously, it depends on your parents because you know, some of our parents might be like, well, you're of a different age to me. Are you trying to kill me off? You know?
No, that's what my dad's like. He says, why am I going to take out life insurance? I'm going to be dead.
Right? So because you want to leave something behind for us.
Yeah. I guess he doesn't want to do that.
So yeah, it's literally, but just speaking to a financial planner and just saying, just talk to us as a family, maybe even if you don't want to have a conversation with your parents, but just tell us how are we setting ourselves up right? What things can we be doing? Just have the conversation.
It's so important. I feel like a lot of people think that financial planning is only for the rich. And
no,
it's not.
And a lot of them won't charge you for the consultation because they get paid. They get paid if you take out something with them. So they won't even, a lot of it is free information.
Yeah, that's very useful information. And then even talking about like finances in the family, you're married, you've been married for a long time, and you just celebrated, was it your 35 years? Yeah, 35th wedding anniversary, so congratulations.
Thank you.
How was it dealing with your finances in marriage? And also, what approach do you guys take with your finances in marriage?
Yeah, another really good question. Because I've spoken to lots of couples about this and everyone kind of does things differently. So the first thing is what works for you, right? So with me, we got married very young. And also a lot of that came from my relationship with money, why I did what I did. So growing up, I was raised in a single parent family. And so I saw my mum do everything and having to manage a budget that like couldn't manage, working 3 jobs, you know, nearly dying twice because of the stress and everything. Went through a lot of trauma growing up, and even personal stuff that had happened with not having a dad in the home. But I remember my mum used to always say to me, don't trust no man, you know, always have something for yourself, right? And funny how you take certain things and you remember certain things. So when we got together, because we were young, we didn't have the whole sit down and let's discuss finances like what people are doing now, because finances wasn't spoken about in my days. It was taboo.
Nothing was spoken about.
Yeah, it was more taboo than sex, I think. I think people might have spoken to me about sex, but they never spoke to me about finances, right? So it was very taboo. So we literally, what I said to him is, I'm paying 50% of everything. I think we just split everything 50-50 because I don't want no one to tell me what to do with my money, and I don't want it to feel like you to feel like I'm telling you what to do with your money.
Okay.
So as long as we put 50% of the household bills into a pot, and then whatever we've got left from our own, you know, we do what we want with. Because if I want to buy a pair of shoes for whatever pounds back in them days, I'm not asking anybody.
Yeah, you just want to get it yourself.
I'm just going to get it.
Yeah.
But I also don't want us to feel restricted or conflicted about that. So that was my take on it. But here's the thing, I then also made a conscious decision to work part-time. I decided that I was going to work part-time because I was raising 2 black boys in London, and I wanted to pick them up from school. So that means obviously my wage was going to be less. But even though I made that decision, I still wanted to do the 50-50.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
I know. It was funny because it was like, it's my choice. I'm not, it wasn't even a discussion like, oh, one of us should stay home for the kids away. We didn't have that discussion. And I'm quite independent, and even back then I was. So I was making a decision. I'm not saying to do this, I'm not saying it was the right way to do it, I'm just telling you what I did. So I'm like, I want to stay. You might, because he could say to me, oh no, but we might need extra money, you know, so work full time then. But I'm making the choice, I'm working part time. So I did that. And there was the occasion I took on an extra temporary part-time job if I needed to top things up. I was willing to do that, and I did that.
Yeah.
So it was my decision. However, I remember having a conversation, and I think it was with your mum actually, and I can't remember what we were saying. I think it was her, and someone was saying, yeah, but if you're working part-time, then it should be apportioned.
100%.
I remember, right?
Yeah.
I remember that, and it didn't come into my mind before though. So that's what I'm saying. Because of how I've been raised and everything, I was very much, no man ain't gonna tell me nothing, you know, kind of thing, because of how my mum had raised me. So for me, it was very much 50-50, then that way it's all good, right? So when I remember her mentioning that to me, and I was thinking, oh, you're right, you know, but to me it was like, oh, it's too late now, because it works for us. We never argue about money. It was never a problem. Do you know what I mean? It was never, like I said, if I bought something and he felt we couldn't afford it, or he bought something and I felt he couldn't afford it, as long as the bills and the kids' money was there, we're good. We're good. So I still feel like it worked for me, for us. But I do also have, not a big regret, but a slight regret, because I probably did myself a bit of a disservice. A
bit, yeah. A lot.
Maybe we should have had the discussion and apportioned it, right? But then you don't know, that could have led to something else. I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And he could have been struggling, and then, because I've seen it, I've seen everything. I've seen it with other couples where one says, the man may say, for example, I'll pay the mortgage, and then the wife may say, well, I'll do the food shopping and that. And sometimes that comes to more than the mortgage, right?
Really?
You know? Yeah, because, you know, depending on how many people's in the household and what you're buying, right?
Yeah,
so, you know, deciding who does what, but then there's other arguments that then takes place. And sometimes, you know, men with their testosterone and ego, well, I'm paying for the household, right? Or she might be like, well, why are you eating out of the food? Because I'm the one who's paying for the food. You know what I mean? And I didn't want anything like that to happen, which is why I stayed with the 50-50.
That makes sense.
But yeah, there is a slight, tiny regret maybe that I could have done the apportionment.
Yeah, maybe you could have done like 60-40.
But it works for us. It works.
But this is a key thing that you said, right? It works for you. I don't think there's necessarily a standard blueprint that everyone can follow. Otherwise, nobody would have financial problems, right? It has to be what works for you, and that's something that's very important. Very important, because sometimes women earn more than the man, right? Yeah.
And so then she may be paying more than the man's paying, right? It's very complex, and I think you just need to try. If what I did doesn't work, because we were always similar with our wage. I mean, he did earn more than me because I was part-time, but my part-time wage was a good wage because I was in accountancy and working in the city, so it was still a good wage. But for some people, I appreciate, it could be a tricky one. So I would say now, if I'm advising someone, I say have the conversation before you get married.
Yeah. I think a lot of people need to have a lot of conversations before marriage. And finances, debt, finances, credit, what is all of this like for you? Yeah. What is your approach to finances in marriage? Because I know some people I think I would lead towards, putting our joint amount of bills, joint amount of savings towards holidays, eventually obviously saving for children or
Yeah.
childcare. Everything that is joint, we're
Yeah.
going to put that into a joint pot.
Yeah.
And then my money is mine, your money is yours. I think I'm very comfortable with that.
What would you do? So I'm throwing this at you. I know you're asking the questions.
Yeah.
If one of you decided that, but one of you earned less than the other, for example, or that was everything that person had. So say like at the end of the month, someone's put the money in for the bills, and then they literally have nothing left for themselves, but you may have £1,000 left for yourself.
No, then I would.
So you'd apportion it?
I would always apportion it.
Okay,
I wouldn't just do the 50-50.
Okay, gotcha.
So I would apportion it whether I earn more or if I earn less, because I feel like as partners you should be equally yoked anyway.
Yeah.
And why would you want your partner to struggle? Like you should be working together as a team.
Yeah.
That's how I think of marriage and partnership anyway. Obviously I know some people have different things. Some people want the man to pay for everything. But I just feel like in this day and age it's not very realistic for that to happen.
Yeah.
Unless...
Another scenario, sorry.
Yeah.
They're popping into my head. What about if you have a scarcity mindset and they don't? They have an abundance mindset, and you both have apportioned it or done it whichever way, put it in, and then you have, say, 300 left at the month, and he has 300 left at the month, and you hoard yours, he spends his, right? And then an unexpected bill comes. You've got the money to pay for it, but he hasn't. I'm
just going to say that will never happen in my situation because I always account for savings and emergencies in my budget. So
you will have it, but what if he hasn't got it? I'm saying.
No, but in our joint
account,
your
joint
it's
savings.
going to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, let's say I wasn't that way inclined. Again, you have to be a team. I just feel like marriage is about being a team. And, you know, problems come up, problems arise. And I feel like one thing that our generation is really bad at actually is walking away too quickly. So a lot of people aren't willing to put in the work. They just see like one orange flag. I'm not going to say a red flag because red flags are obviously like ding, ding, ding. But they see an orange flag and they're just like, yeah, I'm out. I think it's very important. You might say, look, I'm going to cover this now, but we need to go to therapy. Or you need to talk to a financial coach so that you can get out of this scarcity mindset.
And also your generation have a lot more information
exactly
at the tap of a button as well, so I think it's easier for you to resolve those type of conflicts, even though at the same time I hear what you're saying, it's too easy for people to walk away. I
like those scenarios though.
No, but that's why it's personal.
Exactly.
And I will say to people, when it comes to money, it's personal, and it should be personal, because we're all on a different journey, we're all at different stages, and but as long as you and your partner, whatever, is trying to build wealth for you and your generations afterwards, as long as you have that common goal, you'll work it out.
I think so too.
You will work it out.
That's why it's important to be with someone as well, like pick at their mindset, not just. I feel like dating right now is just so hard because a lot of people, they just don't want to have these conversations, or they're just like obsessed with the aesthetics of dating, but they don't want to do the whole depths of the relationship. But it's so important to talk about mindset and money and religion, faith.
And what are we trying to build?
Like,
and to remember we're trying to build
legacy,
something.
Exactly. So
it's not all about, you know, going out to restaurants for meals and sex and all the rest of it. Those things are important, but actually the bigger picture is, what are we doing? Are we trying to build something here? And if you haven't got someone who's trying to build with you, that's what makes it difficult.
That's where the problems come in. Because I was even talking to a friend and he was just opening up about his family life, and he said that his mum was kind of like me, you know, the driver, the go-getter, but his dad was the complete opposite. And I just thought I can never be with a man that's not got the same drive as me, because I think I'll end up resenting it, especially because with me,
we'll have that conversation. We'll have that offline, because actually it's the mindset of the person, as you said. If you're both driven, that can be really contentious, trust me. It can be. True. It can be. You do want, you know, that yin and yang thing, and opposites can attract, right? It's the mindset that you want to make sure they've got the same mindset as you, right? Because if they're not, they might not be driven today, but they might be in 10 years' time when you're tired and can't drive, right?
That's a bit of a gamble, I don't know.
I hear you, but I mean, you know, I've imagined that, because I'd probably say, and it depends what you say, driven in what?
Just driven in, like, just ambitious. You know, you want to achieve something in life, you want to build some sort of legacy, because, do you know what, let's just have this conversation.
We'll do that.
And then I literally only have one more question for you.
That's fine.
So it is, in terms of, you know, you've got a limited company, what advice would you give to other people that start in a limited company and, you know, like working on your money to legally reduce your tax bill? What advice can you give to
Get advice? Yeah. That is what I would say. Get advice before you start. This is my thing, right? And the amount of clients I've had or people that's come to me when things have gone wrong, HMRC has fined them £1,000 because they didn't file their return. They don't even know how to file their return. They think they know, but they try to do things cheaply, right? And it always costs more in the end. So, you know, people will, especially with a limited company, if you're self-employed, it's a bit easier to do that yourself, but still just get some advice, because you can save money with taxes, because you don't know what you can claim for, like in terms of expenses, right? And some things that you think you can claim for, you cannot. And if HMRC decides to do a check on your business, they will go back all the past years and make you pay that back.
Oh, wow.
Right? Yeah. And I've seen it, right? So make sure you get advice. And I'm not talking about John from down the pub or my best friend said. Accounting advice from, or a tax professional. Make sure that they're a professional, that they're regulated with an accounting body, because we never ask that question. I tell you, none of my clients have come to me and asked me if I'm with a regulated body.
That's crazy.
I tell them, and there's so many cowboys in all industries, not just accounting, obviously, who are doing stuff and they don't know what they're doing. I've had clients where I've had to go back and redo their accounts for the past 3 years.
Wow.
And they've had to pay me for it.
So basically, you have to spend money to make money. Sometimes.
Yeah, and some accountants won't even charge you. You know, they might charge you a consultancy fee, but some people will just tell you, if you ask them a few bits. You know, if I'm having a conversation with someone, I will just say to them, look, make sure you do this, that.
Yeah.
But then also then get yourself an accountant. It's you know.
I'll be coming to you soon anyway, because I think I registered my business in February.
Okay.
So obviously
you're coming up to your year. Yeah, but you still get 9 months after that. But keep all your receipts. Keep everything.
Definitely will. But yeah, I think that is the end of this conversation. So thank you for all of the input that you've given. And yeah, guys, there's a lot of takeaways from this episode. And if you are in need of an accountant that is regulated by a body,
I'm not taking on any advice. I've got to tell you, I can refer you to some really good people, though. I can. But if you need other help, like with your mindset or just managing your business money and your personal finances, then yeah, you can come.
And just say your business name so everyone can find you.
Financial Wealth Community.
And that's on Instagram.
Yeah, at Instagram. Yeah, you'll have to put it in the comments. My handles, because I'm not very good with remembering all of those things. Your handle is FWCom. Yes, it is.
And then obviously mine is Community Touch, and yeah, both on Instagram and TikTok for me. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss another episode. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.